Hello, everybody. It's your guy, Meteorologist Chris Mulcahy, your weatherman. How nice has it been? We're calling this the fall fake out because, as we know, that it is not quite fall quite yet. So we're going to go through a couple of quick things. I'm not going to take up too much of your time. Number one, the fall fake out. Why do we see at least once, twice, to even thrice every season at the end of summer? Why does it happen? Number two, we're going to go through, of course, the fall weather that we just most recently had. And then the last question. Will we see fall again? Well, of course, we're going to see fall, but are we going to see this fall fake out part two once again? All right, let's bring graphics full. So, this rare cool down was actually historic. The last time that we were this cool for our lows actually didn't happen until 20 years ago. So, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, we had a low below 60 degrees. It's actually really rare to drop down into the 50s for this time in August for Charlotte, North Carolina. The last time we had three lows in the 50s was 2004. If we somehow do it again before the end of August, not looking likely, it wasn't since 1976 since we indeed did this. So it's been super cool. As for our highs, we should typically average a high around 88 degrees. Well, we're actually nowhere near that. Instead, we were dropping down to about 80 degrees a few days ago. And then we also had temperatures about 81, 83, 85, as you can see. But notice how we're turning summer on really quickly. 90, 94, 96, 97. What's going on here? Well, let's talk about the why. Why did all this happen? It's kind of mean, by the way. Before we go any further, there's a lot of social science that's involved here. Whenever you have a fake out, false fall, faux fall, whatever you want to call it, our minds kind of start to switch. And almost that desensitizing that we had to the heat kind of turns off. So when you're back in the mid 90s feeling like 100 again, it's going to be kind of a shock and awe to the system. So keep that in mind. Don't overexert yourself. It is going to feel much hotter than the mid 90s felt August 1st and 2nd, which is the last time that we did this. So keep that in mind. As the graphics are changing here, notice the polar jet stream. We're actually heading back into the summertime pattern. During the springtime, we have a lot of storms. We have a lot of fluctuating dips in the temperatures because springtime is volatile. Whenever you get close to changing a season, it kind of needs to rev up a little bit. So you have little stints of fall that start to appear before it actually goes full-time fall. My digital producer, Erica, actually asked me this question yesterday, and this is why we're doing this, but she simply said, why do these happen? This on your screen is the reason why these happen. The polar jet stream is all that cold air to the north. Once we get to the winter, the spring, the fall, these make dips. So as you can see, that dip has now lifted its way off towards the north. That's why this weekend is a little bit warmer. But then as it continues to move its way off towards the north, during the summertime, this thing is almost flat. So we're dealing with what's called more of the tropical jet stream. That is going to be that one that's a little bit further down towards the south. But notice as we work our way through the week, it's way to the north. It's back in Canada. So that's not why we're not seeing any big temperature swings that are associated with this. So that's number one, the reason why we have these fall fakeouts and the reason why we just saw one recently. It dipped really far south. And sometimes when these dip abnormally far south, like down into Florida, that's where you have iguanas that are falling from the trees. But as it lifts off towards the north, we have that kind of that heat dome that settles again. So that's why this Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday for the Charlotte area, we're going to feel like it's 100 degrees or close to during that stretch. So that's where we're going to have the most active air. And it's also a tremendous amount of moisture that's associated with this. Then again, as I mentioned, this is a mean trick because our minds have already flipped over to pumpkin spice lattes and pumpkins. No, instead, we are still very much in that summertime pattern. But will it return again? We're already starting to see a dip. This is actually a really cool investigation. This is the following Wednesday. So this is bringing us outside, way outside of the forecast. Notice off towards the north that you're starting to see a little teeny dip down into Minnesota, parts of Iowa. Those blues are getting a little bit further south in Canada. That's going to promote actually our next cool down across the area. So what's going to happen, and that's going to continue to dip down, I would say from day 10 to 14 of the extended forecast. And I'll wait for the graphics to change on me where it's going to go. So the Climate Prediction Center comes out with one of these every single day. It adjusts it by about a day. The 8 to 14 day outlook is actually showing a change of below normal temperatures. I showed this on Friday. it was all orange. Now it's showing that literally pretty much 3, 4, 5 days into September, we're either going to be averaging where we should be, which would be about the mid 80s, to even below that. As again, we have another dip in the jet stream. So I described it as this: picture you're starting a lawnmower, or that's what the jet stream is doing. It's trying to get going. So for us to fully switch over to spring, you have to kind of have that rev or that dip down the jet stream, that rev, that dip down the jet stream. And then eventually it's going to be a full working motor that goes north to south, and you have more temperature swings, you have that cooler air, and we borrow a little bit of that Canadian air, and it starts to dig south, and then eventually digs much further south, and then we're calling it wintertime. But we're not going to get ahead of ourselves. So we're already looking at the 8 to 14 day outlook. Our 10-day outlook is showing a huge dip as well. Now, a lot of this is correlated with more clouds, more rain chances. After that big spike on Thursday, the lower 90s still into the holiday weekend, but by Labor Day itself, we could actually be rocking the mid 80s. I think that you're still going to have rain, but it looks like the next system is really going to cool us down. More cloud cover promote this. Sometimes you can have highs in the 70s during July and August because of the cloud cover rain systems that move through. It's also tropical season, so any of these forecasts can easily bust. That can also cause a false fall sensation as well. So you can see for our 10-day outlook, the rain chances are really going to ramp up. And anyone who has any holiday plans coming up for Labor Day weekends, don't fear this. The worst thing that you can do for a weather app is look at your app and say, oh man, 60% chance of rain, can't do anything. No, instead, I think really Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, if you have any outdoor plans, you're going to be fine. Just note that the first half of the day before 2 o'clock is likely storm free. After that, storms become a little bit more scattered because we're heading back into more of a spring pattern that you have constant storm chances as fronts are starting to move into the area. So, as a recap, yeah, it's about to get hot again. Summer's about to return, but really anticipate a lot of constant swings. Oftentimes, these false falls can sometimes comes in twos and threes. This one was historic because it's very rare that we have this type of setup. As it moves its way further off towards the north, we have a chance of big warm-ups. Back in 2019, we were in the upper 90s from the end of September to early October. So you can constantly do that, but it's going to be constant swings. This is also why there's two technical severe weather seasons. This is one stat that most people don't realize, that the main severe weather season comes from these constant dips in the jet stream. The two severe weather seasons are spring and the secondary one, fall, for this very reason. As we change the seasons, the atmosphere is most volatile. Whenever you have a disagreement of big swings of cold air, big swings of warm air, that leads to severe weather outbreaks. So as we continue into September, not only do you have the tropics, you also have a mini severe weather season that pops up as well, which means a lot of temperature swings. Hopefully we learned something. Hopefully we raised your weather IQ. Again, I'm meteorologist Chris Mulcahy. Appreciate you all. Thanks for learning with me.